Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network. As per usual, I'm Scotty D, but without a cam for this evening. And tonight we've got the Sydney 40K Teams Open Tournament preview. And for this evening, we've got the TOs. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Scotty, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me on again.
No worries at all. And Alex?
How we doing, guys?
Yeah, going well. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Can't complain too much. Keeping myself
He
busy.
just doesn't do it publicly.
Yeah, I try not to.
Yeah, fair enough. Welcome into everyone in chat. Moriarth, or Moria, the Commissar, welcome in. Hungary, great to have you guys joining us. So this is going to be the tournament preview for the tournament that is happening this weekend. If you don't manage to catch all of it, if you have to leave halfway through or you catch the back end, we will be having this posted up on the ATWN YouTube channel later this week, Thursday morning, so you can catch all the juicy details about the tournament for this weekend. And we will be streaming this event on the ATWN on both Twitch and YouTube as well, which is going to be exciting to have both platforms going simultaneously as well. But to kick us off, I reckon we'll go Jay and then Alex. If you guys just want to give a little bit of a quick background for yourselves of how long you've been in the hobby, what armies you play, how long you've been involved with the tournament scene, running events and such as well. And I'll let you guys take it away.
All right. Well, my name is Jay. I've been playing 40K for, I think, just over 2 years now. I started as a ninth baby. Main faction is Tau, so get all the hate out of the way early, or perhaps the love if you're one of the cultured few. And this will be my second tournament that I have run. I accidentally put on the second largest Oceanic tournament last year with Alex's help, and kind of caught the itch and going for it.
Yeah, nice.
There's a cream for that.
Yeah, I got offered, and I don't want it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Goodness.
You want me to go next? I'll go into
Yeah.
it. My name's Alex. I am a complete detriment to the community. I just kind of walk around and, say my 2 cents and then, F off pretty much.
Put a paradigm on the table.
Fun. Yeah, just give people like that little, glimpse of doubt and then, walk away is what I like to do. And I've been doing this for about almost 3 years now. I think just past 3 years. Having a bit of fun. I love playing a few memes and keeping myself, contained. I guess accolade isn't even my accolade, but my team's accolade. We're the number 1 ITC team in Australia, so we're doing well. I'm proud of them. It's definitely not from me. It's a collective effort. So shout out to my guys.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, Chad Mech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Chad Mecca helping run the tournament?
Yeah. We're, Jay's had a big dream for doing this and he had really good success at Pantheon, so it seemed natural for us to look at this as the next step. Funnily enough, I already booked the venue before we even had the discussion, and we were just like, yeah, let's just do it. So we were just ready to go. Like, we had everything kind of fall into our hands. It was perfect timing for him to get a bunch of terrain that he had set up. I just got my own terrain set up. So it was a really nice, collective, initiative that we had. I'd say it wasn't, any one particular person who was, trying to usher the other person in. We were both just like really keen and excited to do it together.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. I guess for us, the biggest thing was probably around motivation for the tournament. I can talk a bit about myself, but Jay, I mean, look, obviously you had Pantheon, and you loved the reception. You loved actually the vibe of doing that, and I want you to talk more about that. But what really motivated you behind getting into tournaments as a whole, I guess, firstly, and then secondly, running a teams event, because that's a different beast.
Well, there are 2 parts to that answer, and the first and foremost really is probably the more important part of it, which is a desire to change a system that in my view, had fundamental problems, and knowing that I was able to be part of the solution rather than just being a bystander. I feel like a lot of this is coming up where, and I don't know if you guys see it in your circles, but because I'm in the Tau circles, we had a player at an American, I think it was a major, that went undefeated but was kept out of the top 8 bracket because of severe allegations of cheating. And this is the same guy that got done like last year for doing the same thing. Now, I have a particular disdain and hatred for bullies or people that abuse or take advantage of other people, and I've always throughout my life put myself in between people that would do that and people that are just trying to live their lives and be good and decent people, which I think all of us can agree is 99.9% of our circuit. New South Wales, we have really fantastic people. And when I was looking at trying to affect change, the only way that I was able to see that happening was as an organizer. It wasn't as a bystander, it wasn't as a player. The most impact I could have was in organizing my own tournaments and then setting a cultural standard for what we would accept and what we wouldn't. And that's something that I feel like you and I saw eye to eye on very quickly, in that we wanted people just to show up, be nice human beings, play with sportsmanship, play their best and try to win. Like, there's nothing that says you got to just, roll over and give a win to your opponent, but you can do so in a way that would be considered top level sportsmanship on any other sporting event. And that for me was a really big driving factor, because it's not every day you see an opportunity to be able to change something that you love for the absolute better. And that is, I guess, the second part of the answer is that I've made so many good friends in this circuit. I've had so many wonderful people that I've interacted with. I want this to be as good as it can be. And if running tournaments and setting things up for them and making a circuit where everybody can show up and just enjoy themselves effortlessly, that for me is, I don't know, I get something out of this that I haven't gotten since the military, Afghan, I guess, and that is a big driving factor for wanting to continue doing these tournaments.
I think I might
makes perfect sense, man.
Yeah, jump in for that one there, Jay, because I have done the exact same, and I know that feeling you're talking about, where you're serving the community and you're wanting to put on the best event you possibly can for the benefit of the community as a whole, and it just hits different. It really does.
Yeah, and I am very well positioned to do it as well, because I getting peer pressured into starting a YouTube channel, and that taking off quite well, having sponsors, all that sort of stuff. There was also something that I could offer that a lot of other people weren't in a position to do, which was bringing those sponsors into a tournament circuit. Like, we've got one of our major sponsors isn't even in New South Wales, but because of my relationship with them, they have, and this, you might have seen boxes behind me that aren't opened and aren't my pile of shame, just throwing extra prize support at me, and I get to feed that on to people that I really care about, which is amazing. Or brand new people coming into a circuit to have something there. So and then obviously another one, the actually, I don't know if we have any sponsors that are from within New South Wales. I guess the guys that are doing terrain and that sort of stuff, but we've also got, because of Alex, our partnership with the Art of War for this, we have some of the best 40k players and coaches in the world, which are throwing themselves behind us as well. So, obviously you could, if you wanted to, just use that influence or connection for yourself, but I get a lot more out of it, doing that for other people. So yeah.
I'll take the Tyranids boxes behind you then, man. Cheers. I noticed there's no AdMech ones for some reason. Yeah.
But do you know what? I asked them if they had any crap that they wanted to throw away, and they said, no, we've already sold that. So AdMech was just automatically off it. They only had stuff that people actually want. I don't know.
Yeah, new meta. AdMech good again. During the Custodes 2-up save, Grey Knight 2-up save. Yeah, AP0. MVP.
Yeah, for sure. So why don't, now that you've mentioned the sponsors, Jay, why don't you just quickly give a shout out for them as we're talking about
it?
Well,
the first one has to go to Art of War. That, obviously Alex is an Art of War member, but it's more than that. It's, you know, an organization that is giving so much to a community that, you know, like Art of War is primarily based in the United States, and yet fostering another country's 40K scene by offering people, you know, the ability to learn and get coached or have lists built or whatever else, just taking down some of the barriers that people have getting into 40K, because we all know how intimidating this game can be to get into. And taking some of those barriers down, letting people talk to people who are absolute experts in whatever they're talking about is just, yeah, they've been really fantastic, not only for the Pantheon GT, but for teams as well. The other one is Irresistible Force. They're a local gaming store up in Logan, Queensland. They sponsored me from when I was an absolute nobody on YouTube to now where I'm somewhat of a nobody. So, and you know, one of the biggest things, I put this out as a Facebook post, I use some of the prize support money to buy box product and everything else from them, and they basically just matched me and doubled what I was getting. And so the box I got sent was infinitely bigger than I initially thought it would be, and just incredible. We have so much stuff. Chell and I were trying to work out all of our prize support today as a result of that. There is only going to be a handful of people that leave this event without something in their hands, which is kind of incredible. Also want to make a shout out to Spear Tip Studios, which you'll see the terrain that's off to my side. They have donated completely a couple of terrain sets, and these things, I was putting them together, are incredible. They're designed so that you can put together a table's worth of terrain within the big L's. That's it. It's a really, really great concept, and yeah, very appreciative that I've had people jump in behind us. Those are my shout outs. What about you, Alex? Anything to throw on?
Shout out to me. I'm great. No. Yeah, there's a laugh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, shout out to Scotty for obviously like helping jump in as well and being like so super, invested in the hobby as well to be able to run a stream. Like it's so much effort. And you know, that partnership that we always have with ATW, and we want to, you know, always keep happening. So we're really appreciative of that. And the other shout outs to players, like, you know, we were able to sell this out. This is the first teams event I've seen in New South Wales that's sold out, I believe, in a very long time, at least since I've been here. So it's very humbling.
Yeah,
I think is the word, right? Like,
yeah,
it's amazing, and it's great to, you know, see. And I think, you know, realistically, this is the first, you know, joint venture, or even if it was a solo venture, either way. But I think it's only going to get better. This is really like the, you know, starting point. So you see what the guys do, you know, Josh McGowan, what he does in Queensland, and it's absolutely amazing. And I'll be honest, like, you know, we're looking at that as a example for framework. So yeah, we just want to keep it going. We had a lot of you know, preference. We weren't able to get, you know, match out, like, as an example, free lunches, but we were able to, you know, double, triple price support and do things like that. So we have our own way of making things better for the community as well. And yeah, it's exciting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and actually on that point, that's something that I was talking to Chell about today. I remember so vividly, like, some of the new players that came up and said hi at the GT, and then when they got called up to get prizes at an event where, like, none of them were like, I'm gonna top 3. No, none of them were like, I'm gonna go to a GT and just do that on, like, my first one. But the look on their face when they actually got to walk up and shake hands and take something away, that's kind of what drove my decision making for this one as well, to have so much going back to them, because that feeling, seeing somebody feel like that is really, really rewarding. Really,
I think this is realistically the face that they had, right? Like, it's
fuck you. Oh my god, I hate you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, am I wrong? Sorry, I hit my mic.
I need to get a macro where, like, little text comes up saying Jay will remember this.
Yeah. I get a few, you know, approval points dropped, but, you know, the crowd loves it, right?
Of course.
For sure. Shenanigans, chat. Absolute shenanigans.
Let's get into the actual tournament itself, I think, right? There's a lot to cover. And Jay, why don't you helm this one? Because I know you've had to do a lot of background work here, and, you know, I kind of
Let's do it.
took a little bit of a step back and just like kind of supported just with standards that we wanted to hit, and you met them anyway. So
Well,
let's talk
that's
about.
not 100% true. The terrain maps are all you. I don't know if I could do that. I would have to learn so much extra shit. So, like all the terrain maps you guys are gonna see in this, and they are detailed and well thought out. That's all, Alex.
Well, no, there's WTC. I was a bit lazy, but I worked out the right ones to get for us. You know, and then making sure that we don't have the ones that making sure they work for our terrain sets, and like the simple stuff like that, and making sure we had the right number, and making sure it matches for the amount of heavies we'll have versus lights, and
Yeah, absolutely.
and so on.
Because
That was
we
just
have decided
math.
to go a
Yeah.
little bit different because going super heavy, double, medium, and light is a little bit of a departure from or is that the standard at the actual WTC tournament? So talk us through
So,
that, because you've been to WTC, I haven't. So
yeah. So I think what we really want to do is it's not so much like trying to emulate them, because it's very different, setup having a 8-man versus 5. But what it
yeah,
is about
absolutely.
trying to actually showcase the experience of what WTC is, and that was the main goal. So with these map packs that I handpicked, it was around ensuring that we get that experience. Now heavy, these super ruins, for lack of a better word, what they are, in case people don't realize, is it's you have one L-shaped ruin, and you have another L-shaped ruin right next to it, and they're kind of connected, and you can't see through the gap. So they're these big staging, pieces, and this is really interesting because you had 4 of these, sets on one table, and it changes matchups significantly on what is actually a good army or a good list that actually operates on that, and what isn't. How quickly do you have to take that table away from others so they don't get access to it? Can you actually beat armies that can just stage their whole army? Do you have the mobility to get around? These a lot of like intrinsical, like really specific things that you won't typically think about when you're just playing a regular GT, right? Because it's all the same.
Yeah.
Here you now have an extra layer of pairings. Now this was something that is brand new to WTC. We never had super ruins previously. This was something that only came up last year, for us to be the first playtesters, I guess. But it changed the matchup, and it changed the whole experience, and it changed the relationship with who you think is actually a better first defender, who can take that table, or who's a better, if you have army suites that can actually work and adapt to that, so you don't even need to get table pick for that. There's different ways to do it. So we really wanted to capture the experience with that. So we don't have a super run on every single map, because it doesn't work with some of the missions we have, or in 5-mans, by having it on everything. And also it doesn't, give the right experience as well. So we have it for 3 out of the 5, and we have a nice slew of different things. So heavy again, which has a lot of, a large amount of, the big ruin L's. So for your big monsters and things like that, it's easier to stage and hide and do things like that. Then you have your light tables, who have less of that, and you only really have 2, which is typically in your deployment zone. Then you have the other ones where you have a mix of 4 heavy in the middle, or 4 heavy, on the sides, and a bunch of different things. But we can go into that in a bit more detail. But the terrain should be fun. It should emulate the experience as best as possible. We've matched the time settings as well that WTC employ. We're matching the FAQ, obviously, the actual format itself as a whole. How we want to approach the game as well on the sportsmanship perspective, because I think WTC do that extremely well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's really that part, and I feel like I've taken away too much there. So why don't we talk about the tournament itself? Players in attendance, things like that. Give a
just
bit of a rundown.
before that, Alex.
Yeah.
Considering that this event has got a lot of newer players that might not have played in teams before, I reckon why don't we talk a little bit from both Jay's perspective and yours about the difference between what it's like playing in a singles event as to what it's like playing in a teams event, and how maybe the pairings work for those who might not be aware of how that functions.
Do you want me to take that one, Jay, or do you want me to? You want to go through it?
Mate, I think as the WTC rep here, then it'd probably be better for you to take it. So for everybody who doesn't know, we got 80 players, and those 80 players are going to be experiencing something that you just can't find at singles. So run us through it, Alex.
So realistically, we have 5-man teams. Within there, you can only you have a limit of 1 faction to a degree. I know we've got a few exceptions to that. And what that allows, firstly, is that there's never a team that is strictly meta dominated. But what I mean by that, let's say Space Marines were the best faction in the game at the moment. Let's say they're Drukhari levels or Tyranid levels from previous editions. You couldn't have 5 of them on the team. Straight away, that provides some balance. And what you do in your team structure is you look at the maps, you look at the team layout itself, with the factions that you chose and the list that you designed, and even play styles, to a degree, if they're really aggressive or passive and able to score really well, right? You look at all that, and then you have a really good understanding on having a pairings, matrix against an opposing team. The way that the actual format works is that both teams match up to each other. You have secret cards that you place down, which are your defenders, which are typically armies and army lists and players that feel that they can adapt really well and play the field really well into a lot of attacking army lists and aggressive army lists, and still get safe scores. From that, it could also be quite table dependent. So then you, as an example, the Super Ruins example, and let's say you're Custodes and you're running a full infantry slug list, you might feel, hey, it's a lot better for me to actually be down as a defender. Automatically, the melee matchups don't want me, so I'm safe there. Some of the shooting matchups like me, but if I'm on a Super Ruin, that helps that matchup too. I can get safe scores. Put that down. The enemy has to now counter with 2 of their cards or 2 of their armies, in which place the Custode player gets to pick who they want. And then they also get to pick the table. That's the benefit of being a defender. The attacker's job is to just push and push and push and try to do things. Now, this is a very simple way to talk about this. There's obviously a second round of that, and then the remaining cards at the end just pair into each other. But there's a lot of counterplay as well, which is really fun. At the end of the day, the best thing about teams, though, is that you all have a collective score. So everyone's score matters. You can have a team of absolute beasts, but if your weakest player, or not even weakest, it could be your strongest player, they go into a bad matchup. If they just get their predicted score that they should be getting based on your pairings, that's a huge win. And that can be a 10-point loss, which is a 12-8 for them, because there's different ways of scoring in WTC. But that's something to be celebrated. It's a loss, but it's actually a win for your team. So it's really important, and I really love that about teams. I think it's the most fun thing. Sometimes you don't celebrate the guy that 20-0'd someone, right, which is the highest score you can get. But sometimes you celebrate the guy that got a 5-15 against him. And because he got what you needed to actually get across the line and actually get that win overall, which is awesome.
I find that it does help take the pressure off, especially newer players when they're learning the format, but it just takes pressure off you in general, that you can still have what would be considered a relatively bad game, but then know that your other team members in that round can, carry you, or that, you don't need to stomp somebody. You can just keep things even and still potentially be contributing, even though in a singles game you'd be like, oh, I really didn't perform well, it was a bad matchup, it was whatever. There's no beating yourself up afterwards. It's, I'm playing to the benefit of the collective. And sometimes, honestly, and I think this is really good, it teaches people to get beaten and deal with that process, because that is definitely a part of teams where you are not always going to have favorable matchups. And there are some... Yeah, and you can't give up, because it's not about you. It's about a collective of 5 people winning or losing that round. And that's something that I've even found where, if I'm in a bad mental state or whatever else, I will still persevere within a game, because I know that if I give up, it's not just me I'm affecting.
Yeah, and I know that sounds quite scary and intimidating for some people when they just get started, but I do want to stress that 40k is still fundamentally a hobby, right? And it shouldn't be that highly pressured. And we love the hobby as well on a singles perspective. So if you do love that and have that actual love for the game, going into it isn't that intimidating. Like, it might be a little bit at the start. You might have some nerves. You might be like my friend Michael, who has to go to the bathroom during every single pairings process. I'm sure he'll love it that I mentioned that. But you still have so much fun, and you really love that environment, and can go from there.
And I found being in that environment, even if you're having a bad day, you're still with 4 mates that you can like go and have a mental health chat with, or even just somebody walking past and giving you like a light punch on the arm and a wink and whatever, or just walking past with a thumbs up and there is something about it that just can lift you up just that little bit more. Whereas in a singles, you are functionally on your own. So
yeah, I
team
highly recommend
environment
everyone
is so
try it.
unique and so great. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely worth a try.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess the one thing, I know Alex briefly touched on this, but I'll add a bit more context to it, is just the team scoring differential. So the way that it works is that the guys will be using the WTC, which is a 20-0 system. So if you get within 5 victory points of your opponent, it's a 10-10 draw. And then for every 5 that your opponent wins by, they get an additional point and you lose a point. So say you have a 65-80 loss in terms of the actual game. I believe the math says that's a 13-7 in terms of the differential.
With 1 more point, it will be.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first 0 to 5 is 10-10, so it's 6 to 10 is a 11-9.
Okay.
And then similarly 11-15 will be a 12-8 and so on.
Yeah. So that's how that kind of works. So, and then to win a round for a team, I believe for a 5-man team, you've got to get more than 55 points collectively.
56 in total is what you need, yeah.
Yeah.
So 55 is a tie. There's a small margin where you can get a tie as well in teams. And sometimes playing for a tie is really good. If you feel you can't beat that matchup, you actually build your pairings around actually getting a tie, which is huge. You find that you get a lot more ties actually in teams than you do in singles, that's for sure.
For sure.
Any other notes from you, Jay? Sounds pretty good.
I think you covered a lot of it at sort of like that basic level, and I think going more into it is something that is probably better for somebody who doesn't understand it to see it rather than just have it sort of spoken about. And I think from all of the teams that I saw, there is at least somebody who has been to teams before. So one thing I will say is that while you're at the event, if you see me or you see Alex not in the middle of furiously doing something, absolutely come and ask questions, or even just like not even one of us. There are a lot of very, very high level players that are coming to this tournament. And this is something that, I have wanted to make sure that we do with every event that we run, that it is approachable for new players, but there is a wealth of experience and talent. And it's incredibly competitive on the high end. There are going to be so many people that are more than willing to help you. Once, don't be intimidated by the circuit and by new faces or whatever else. I don't think I can name somebody that I wouldn't be comfortable going up and being like, hey, just had a question about a rule or whatever. Like, can you help me with this? And that they won't just put their tape measure down and go, yeah, cool, man, let's do it. Let me help you. So yeah, and during the course of the tournament, you see me, ask me a question. There is no over communicating with me. Nobody's going to annoy me by asking a question or anything else. I make sure that you reach out and talk to somebody, because that is the entire purpose of me wanting to run the events, is to be there for people getting into the scene. And like I said about Art of War, taking out the barriers to joining the tournament scene, especially the teams environment.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I think we've done a good job, hopefully. I'm hoping, praying that this is going to be good. One of my first events actually was a teams event, surprisingly enough. I played against here you go. Actually, we've got Feud is in the chat. I did play against Feud. He did very much clap my cheeks, for lack of a better word, and we played some 40k, which is great too. But he's actually good on. Shout out to Feud as well, because I think he's the reason I got into tournament scene as well, because he made a bet. He just dared me to do it, and I made an event. So, and here we are now. And to answer your question, yeah. If you lose, blame me for the terrain 100%. You're not getting any terrain on your tables. Sucked in.
Planet bowling ball.
Yeah.
I think Death Guard do like that. I think they love just a smooth, barren table to play on.
Yeah, indirect, whatever.
Yeah.
You get +1 to hit. I'm helping you.
And actually, mentioning shoutouts, there is one that I missed before. There's probably a bunch of minor ones, but another one I want to shout out is Daniel Zeri, who is doing a bunch of his printed and made terrain, very quick and approachable terrain. Alex, I think you might actually be rocking that for your set, and Daniel's done
He's
a
a
cheap set of
fiend.
5 for us to get out. But it's not only that; he's also going into like paint racks, and a carry case is another one that I saw. So
Yeah, he's doing a lot.
mm,
He's an absolute fiend. But if you see what he had to import to his house, it's monstrous.
wait, as in like equipment or?
No, just people. Workers
Oh,
trying
right.
to. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Equipment. Equipment. Yeah.
I 100.
No, he's not running a
on that.
sweatshop.
I
I
was
just want
like,
to
what?
confirm. That was a bad joke. He's not running a sweatshop, I promise. Not anymore, anyway. Yeah.
But
Oh, gosh.
yeah, so when we're looking at the pairings process, one of the things that I really love about teams is that there is actually room for you to bring lists that you might not ever consider bringing to a singles event, because the skew can be so hard. For any newer players that don't know what a skew is, it is basically a matchup or a design of list which does insanely well against like one thing. Like from a Tau perspective, if I were to bring like long strike and 3 hammerheads, 3 sky rays, like and then a storm surge, I'd be like, cool,
And
put me
some
into
broadsides.
knights. Put me
Yeah.
into knights. I'm good. Like the knights player is gonna hate me because he can kill half my army and I can still table him. So that's the idea of a skew list. We also saw things like that with like the swarm tyrannid list. You put that into a relatively low volume army or a 1-phase army, they're gonna have a real hard time against that. Really hard.
Perfect example is your Tau, right? Like, let's say you bring that skew list that's really good into knights, and then you miss out on the pairings, get put into Storm.
Oh,
You're
you're
in
done.
trouble.
You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's distress. That's when you don't give up, though, right? This is 100% where you fight to get as many points as you can for your team, and you hope that they got better matchups, so that way you can get the win.
Well, let's talk about busing then, because that is a thing that I think is actually a core part of the team's experience. That sometimes a player on your team does need to get thrown under the bus. Sometimes for 4 people to get a good matchup, one person has to go, yep, you know what, this is my lot. This is going to be a shit round. But then when you get busted and you have to do that, I find that it encourages you to find the joy in the struggle. I am being resilient for the sake of my team, and therefore I am achieving something. It's not points, it's not whatever else. It is taking one for the team. And then 4 other people go, cool, man, I went into Necrons and I have a great time. Said nobody ever. I went into, Chaos Knights and they had nothing to deal with the list that I brought. That can be a very, very satisfying and rewarding thing that you did, even though on paper it seems like it should feel like shit.
Yeah, not everyone can be Goku. Someone has to be Yamcha. Lying on the floor there in the crater. Yeah.
My God, Yamcha. I really thought you were gonna go Krillin. I really thought you were gonna go.
No.
That's
Krillin
an
hasn't died
odd
as much.
choice.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely Yamcha. Chat knows. Chat knows. I'm sure. I'm gonna wait to see. We'll see. But aside, while we're waiting for that, Scotty, feel free to make a poll. Who's worse, Yamcha or Krillin? Get that going. Definitely really important to the 40k community. But why don't we talk about the actual meta? We've spoken about like different skew lists and things like that. But it'd be really interesting to see the meta, because it is quite different to singles. Because as an example, like we said, if Marines were the best faction, you can't see 30 Marine players out of 70. At most we can have is 16 Marine players, right? So it's pretty interesting. Scotty, you've got the data for us as well, which is perfect. And
Yes.
Yeah.
I just before we jump into the meta, I would like to mention the missions and what the guys will be playing every round.
Yeah,
as
sure.
They are available as well. So
And more importantly, before that, apparently Krillin dies repeatedly, but Yamcha dies fast. There you go. We've worked it out. We've cracked the code.
Good on you. All right, so round 1 is going to be Hammer and Anvil with Chilling Rain and the Ritual. So this is where you've only got the center objective and you're creating objectives. So hopefully you've got action monkeys in your list to be able to create those objectives. Round 2 is Crucible of Battle with Sweep and Clear. So this one's sticky objectives and priority targets. So this is where you can score, you score 10 points per round at the end of the game. You can score up to 15 with both players being able to achieve that. Instead of the traditional, the player who goes second just scores at the bottom of the game. In this one, both players score in command phase and both players score end of game as well. Round 3, and I'm so glad you didn't put a mission rule on this one, is Search and Destroy with Chilling Rain and Purge the Foe. So this one is playing 40k in like 8th edition, because holding one objective, holding more objectives, killing one unit, killing more units than your opponent, which is actually quite a good one to end on round 3, to be fair, for day 1. Round 4 is Sweeping Engagement with Scrambler Fields, so you can't infiltrate, you can't scout, you can't redeploy onto no man's land objectives or your opponent's objective. I think the only caveat is that you can redeploy onto your opponent's objective. That is the only one that isn't actually nullified by Scrambler Fields.
Which is impossible anyway. So it doesn't need to be said.
Yeah. And then Take and Hold, so your traditional hold 1, hold 2, hold 3. And then the final round is Search and Destroy with Chilling Rain and Vital Ground. So this one is where you remove the center objective, and it is actually a lot less points on primary in this round. So it's going to be a real big fight for points to determine who places where, which I think is a really good pick for round 5.
So there was a little bit of method to the madness. You'll notice that, and Alex mentioned this before, we are wanting to set sort of a new standard for the time of rounds, and we're going to be going 3 hour and 15 rounds. Now, one thing I was thinking about when I was looking at missions, and Alex obviously had a pass of it after I'd set it down to make sure that I didn't do anything that was like absolute witchcraft. But I was thinking about the fact that, like, you know, round 1, you want to have something that people can kind of like shake off the rust, get into the groove, get into the game, all that sort of stuff. Round 2, do something a little bit spicy. Round 3, when you have been standing on your feet for like 7 hours plus and you've got to do another whatever, don't do something which is going to overly tax, you know, like, because not everybody's going to show up and be like, you know, super fit 20-year-olds. They're, you know, we've got some dad hammer, we've got some beer hammer. So, you know, make it so that the end of the day isn't something where people are, you know, trying to calculate chemistry in the final round. And then again, round 4, give something which is a little bit spicy for the first round as people are a little bit fresh. And then the last round, just make it something which is relatively straightforward, but nothing overly complex. And make it so that a lot of the matchups are done between players and not based on who can hold their cognition for 9 hours in a day.
Yeah. And I love that mentality as well, because it means that it presents a more enjoyable experience, because a player can walk away being like, oh, I don't have to like fully concentrate. Sure, you got to concentrate, but more like you're not taking up that higher brain function of being like, oh, do I have to, is it going to be worth drawing that extra card and discarding one for secret intel during Purge the Foe, as well as everything else? So yeah, because Purge the Foe is probably the most complex mission when you start to add in, say, secret intel or drawing a third card on tactical, or even drawing an additional tactical card on top of fixed secondaries. It's like, then you're keeping track of 7 things at once, which is a bit nuts.
Don't need it. Honestly, I'm fine with like even three rounds of Chilling Rain. Sometimes you can already have like a bit of a unique, you know, zest. As an example, Vital Ground's a perfect example of it. You end up with 4 objectives. You only get 2 for primary in your home objective. It's really about pushing through and contesting, and you play a very different game when you have one less objective in the middle. So it's you know, that to Purge the Foe is night and day different. The same as Take and Hold. And then Take and Hold can be combined with, you know, 6 objectives as an example or something else, and all of a sudden you have 3 different objective amounts already in the game. And then you have, boom, the Ritual as another one. There's another, you know, amount of different objectives you can have in the game. and it already makes a bit of a change straight there.
I wanted said. I wanted to troll people with take a mortal wound on a 6 to advance and delayed
Minefields.
reserves.
Yeah.
But I was talked out of it, and I'm not going to say that Alex put a gun to my head, but he definitely did. 100%.
Metaphorical.
Metaphorical. Though I did get to troll everybody at the Pantheon Chadmech Teams Training Day. That was fun.
It was
Nice.
great. Yeah, I mean, we were trying to work out extra rules now. We're like, hold on, does it count as a 6 to advance if like Tau auto advances? And we're like working
Funnily
out
enough,
things,
it
and
doesn't.
just, like,
You haven't made a roll. Yeah.
You haven't made
Yep.
a roll. It says do not make a roll. So yeah, there you go. He was just trying to buff Tau. Don't even lie.
I don't know what you mean. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
All right. I think we're up to the factions now then.
Yeah, let's
So the
jump
meta
into it.
faction. Do you want me to run through them, or
Yeah,
how
go
should we
for
do
it,
it?
Alex.
Sweet. So let's talk about Space Marine players. Now, what I wanted to say, guys, with this based on players, it's out of 16 teams. Now, you can't have a double up in the teams as well. So, like we said before, you wouldn't be able to have, 2 Grey Knights in one team. It has to always be separate. And that goes for Space Marines as well as a whole. So what we have is 9 out of 16 teams are actually playing Space Marines. In terms of players, it's 11.25%. In terms of the teams that are playing it, it's close to
about
close to 2/3, right?
Yeah, I would put the math. I think the math is 62.5% of teams.
There you go. Yeah, so it's actually quite high. Overall, Imperium obviously can jump between a few, but like you have Custodes, quite a high one as well. Similarly, it's pretty funny because we did talk about the how they work really well for the defender role, and with super ruins and things like that, where you have 6, but then you compare to Adeptus Astartes as a whole, you have 5, Black Templars 1, Blood Angels 1, Dark Angels 1, Space Wolves 1, and they all operate a bit different. It's a bit harder to define if they're an attacker, defender, very list defined there as well. You have Grey Knights with 5 as well. Now the Grey Knights shooting up from being a new thing in the meta because they did get a superb amount of buffs, I would say. I think they're one of the better ones in the game. In fact, we did have our most recent GT. There was a winner for Grey Knights, which is Greg Unity. Yeah, so he did extremely well with them. So shout out to Greg. Another one that has been taking a bit of a craze overseas, specifically around the UK scene, has been Astra Militarum. With that, we actually have 4 out of the 16 teams representing them. So, realistically, looking at 25% pick rate, which is pretty high for Astra Militarum, unless you're in Wagga, where it should be 50%. Yeah, so that's really cool to see. A bit of a surprise was Sisters. Now, Sisters only having 3 out of the 16 was more of a surprise to myself, because I feel that they are an extremely great army in the game right now. They're really consistent. Now, while they don't always win GTs, they always score high, and they have a really good set design. With teams, you can skew that even further to just get safe scores. So they are probably, in my opinion, one of the premier defensive armies out there for teams on a team's perspective. And then
this one, Alex, that might actually change. Just to quickly segue a little bit and shout out to Jake, who donated a starter Sisters army, and that's going to be given to our player's player, just for showing up and being a decent human being. Somebody's going to walk away with a starter Sisters army, which is might see to the next team event. Who knows?
That's awesome. That's great to see. And they are a shared faction with Imperial Knights, which haven't been around the meta for God knows how long. Chaos Knights are obviously much better than them right now, but they have a low pick rate, which is interesting because sometimes on 5-man teams you can double, for lack of a better word, unga bunga with high toughness, and sometimes the enemies can't deal with you. So it's good to see there's going to be a really good mix here, I feel. Then Chaos, 12 out of 16 players, 12 out of 16 teams have a Chaos faction, and within them, some of them could have even 2. So Chaos Demons, there's 4, which will be really exciting to see. That could be a mix between the Horde amounts, or it could be also just the big monster mash, which is going to be really cool.
I was looking through, because I went through and looked at all of the lists. The majority of them have got at least 2 or 3 greater demons
Big
in
boys.
it. Yeah.
Mm.
So they're
Awesome.
more the bigger lists. I think there's one that is got 5 in there.
That'd be
Oi.
Barnyard, surely.
I think it is. I think it is Jack.
I thought it might be. He loves his big boys.
Yeah, and he loves his demons.
Mm.
Yep.
Separate
Yep.
sentence. Yeah. What else we have with that segue is Chaos Knights. Surprisingly, only 2. I think Chaos
Beaten out
Knights are
by
really good.
Imperial Knights by 1. What a world.
It's really interesting because Chaos Knights, their strat becomes infinitely more useful on WTC boards, because if anyone doesn't know, WTC boards are very dense. Dense with weird angles so if you do have the affinity for mobility, you can get angles and make pressure plays there. But with Chaos Knights, you can actually just hide behind a ruin and then just go right through it, which makes them very good. So very surprising pick here. I do highly rate them in a team's perspective, especially 5-mans. Again, for the reason that sometimes people can't stat check you at all, but secondly, they have amazing output. For some reason, they hit on 2s, but the Imperial Knights don't. Next up, we have Chaos Space Marines, which is quite low. Obviously, we had a nerf to Chaos Space Marines recently. This has impacted the meta quite a bit.
Get rid of them.
And people are trying to, I guess some people are happy, some people are upset about it, but people are still trying to work out the lists. Now, you typically have a few different ones. Scotty, you'll be able to confirm or deny this, but you'll either have like the interesting Unga Bunga kind of like castle builds with a lot of DACA that are doing quite well, or you'll have like these kind of balanced lists that still actually run a lot of MSU, surprisingly, and still chosen and things like that. And then there's these weird fringe case ones where you actually run Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Knights, and Demons as allies as well, and
so
push through that way.
The interesting point on Chaos Space Marines, I know me and Jay were talking about this before stream, before you jumped in, Alex, is that one of the CSM players actually incorrectly listed his faction as CSM when he's playing Dark Angels.
Oh no, that's correct. Yeah, that's definitely correct. He's done the right thing.
Lore
The other one
accurate.
hasn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I believe from memory, the CSM list is a Baton, a Brick of Terminators, and then supporting scoring pieces around that. I don't think there was any Accursed Occultists in there either.
No, they're dead. Yeah, they're well and truly. They got triple nerfed, so they're definitely gone.
Good. Fuck them off.
Oi. Another one that's pretty interesting to see is Thousand Suns. They're not a popular faction as a whole, but I do think they have a lot of play. Their characters are absolutely cooked, but obviously they're not probably in the level right now compared to others. But seeing 2 people play them, I would assume that they're going to be more faction masters as well, and not to be taken for granted, because Thousand Suns have insane output still. And if they position well, which WTC allows them to position really well, and when they have things like Temporal Surge for triple moves, double moves, everything else like that, it's pretty scary. And if you don't really know how to play them, there's a lot of things that you might be surprised about. But basically, every single character just sounds like a fake data sheet, in my opinion. But moving on, Death Guard.
Just on Thousand Suns, actually,
feud,
Alex.
right? Yeah, go for it.
Thousand Suns won Cherokee Open. Couple, not weekend, just gone weekend before. And they beat Hypercrypt Necrons in the final.
But we all know that the meta around anywhere outside of Australia is soft, right? No, I'm joking. That's pretty cool to see. That's awesome actually to see, to be honest. And they do have a lot of good tools with Doombolt and other things, and turning off saves to actually deal with a lot of the big baddies that are kind of in the meta right now. So it's cool. And look, I'm going to assume Death Guard. Oh yeah, go on. Sorry.
Oh well, just one more point. Thousand Suns stick out to me as somebody who, after their initial round of nerfs, they've just had a meta shift around them. They haven't been touched at all, which I think puts a faction into a really interesting position where, like you said, it's going to be faction specialists that are playing it because nobody's trying to meta chase onto it, but they're still good, always have been. And if you've got somebody who knows what they're doing, especially when they become less popular, you've got less people getting reps into them. I think Thousand Suns have a ton of play. I agree with that 100%. That's all I wanted to say. Death Guard should just read Feud. It should just read Feud.
Just casual player.
Feud 1.
The only reason he's playing Death Guard is because no, actually no, then that would be Noble Demons. I was going to say because it has a fantasy army, but no, I don't know what he's doing. I didn't even know he had a 40k army anymore. But no, no, it's going to be really good to see Feud on it. He's obviously always a beast on this, and more importantly, he puts googly eyes on every single one of his models. And if he doesn't,
Absolutely.
this time he's going to not get a paint score.
Oh, note for Feud, because for anybody, and we haven't gone through prize support categories or whatever, I don't know if that's in scope for this stream, but one of the prize support categories, we've got best painted, as everybody does, but we also have worst painted, which was probably our most popular category from the GT. Feud won it last time with his Land Raider. Feud, you're not allowed to bring the same model again. Your kid has to badly paint something else for you to be able to win it.
It wasn't his kid, it was him. Yeah.
It was definitely him. He was just scapegoating hard.
Did you know what I wanted to put down, and I just didn't have the stomach that it would be approved.
What's that?
I wanted to make a new relictor, but called a poo relictor, and it was just going to be like a 3D printed
Oh my god.
poo emoji
Oh my
with the new relictor arms out. And then I was thinking even further, I was maybe even going to get a cutout of your face and put it on there.
Oh my god, that would have won instantly.
Oh yeah, but then I decided not to do it because everyone said it was a really bad idea and it was really mean. And I was like, no, like I'll take the face off. I'm sure he'll laugh, but yeah, that's fine.
I absolutely would have.
Yeah, poo relictor, great. Anyway, speaking of poo, World Eaters.
Yeah.
I actually still think they're great. Like,
they definitely are. They definitely are.
Yeah, I think they still, especially in teams. I think they have play. Some people can't deal with them, so
I only really act like that because I'm a town
player,
player and they have advance in charge.
Yeah, who is the player out of curiosity, Scotty? We should maybe give them a quick little shout out.
Let me have a quick look through all of the teams that are right in front of me. But I can tell you that the World Eaters player is running 8-bound heavy with
nice.
some character support as well as Big Boy Angron. Okay, let me just quickly find, because we're not covering it in the three teams we're looking at. It is Luke Small.
Nice.
Who's running
rolling with high rollers.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
Good on him, mate. That's awesome to see.
Shout out to you, Luke. Yeah, good chat.
Yeah. Like we shouted out him, didn't shout out Feud. Perfect. Balance.
No, we did. How many feuds do we have at this tournament? We have one.
Look, it's not even Feud, okay? It's Fued. He spelled
it Fued. It is Fued. I keep mispronouncing it. I apologize.
Yeah. Let's go Eldari. So we have 6 players overall. 6. That's 3 Eldari, 3 Drukhari. I'm really
big drop.
Now, Drukhari is brand new detachment, but also the other detachment got significant buffs by definition of some of the other things that they got in the data slate. So I'm very keen to see Drukhari as a whole. I think one of the big bads we'll be talking about, I'm sure, is going to be Chris Wright with his team.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
so
yes.
We are going to be talking about it. We'll unpack it. We'll go through it. Very keen for that, and I still think Eldari. Doesn't matter how many notes we get. Their kit is just so wide and varied. You know, they're going to be still good.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving forward, Tyranids. 6 out of 16 teams have Tyranid player. I think that's pretty good. I think Tyranids are in a pretty good spot for teams because they are very flexible. Having Invasion Fleet as a whole is just a flexible pick, mainly because you have adaptability, sorry, I should say, between different SKUs. So let's say you're going into big heavies, you can go into lethal hits a lot. But if you're going into infantry spam, you can go into sustain hits. I mean, I know the mad lad Josh Hines, actually went into Space Wolves with the cav spam and picked precision on crits. Precision only on crits, by the way. But that actually won him the game because he killed the characters, and then that was it. And then the Space Wolves army doesn't function. So it's really cool. I really like it. They're also obviously scoring beasts. There's obviously also Swarm. That's another end of that. But between Ripper Swarms and even now like Raveners, Uppy Downy, Spore Mines, things like that. They're really good at scoring, and Maliceptors are annoying for people to deal with too, and they're really good at scoring primary. I do love my Tyranids. The only issue is I don't think any of them is running a Harridan. So
yeah, I'm probably going to give the Tyranid players minus 10 points for every game until they put a Harridan on the table. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a struggle. It was probably the worst decision I've ever made, but it did absolutely nothing, but it didn't die because I think after people shot it and almost killed it. But then after they saw what it did, they were like, "Oh, why am I bothering? Let me just kill the rest, and I can't control objectives." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fair." And then
That's how
rounding it
you
off,
won
we
game.
had.
You confused people into doing the
I
wrong
did it.
thing.
I told them it's terrible. Okay, I'll shoot it. Are you sure it's
Yeah,
terrible?
nobody's
Yeah,
going to believe you when you say that. It's a model that takes up half the table. Nobody's going to
doesn't.
believe you.
The base is this, like, it's tiny. And because of the new rules in 10th, you measure everything from the base. Good luck trying to
Perfectly
deny
legal.
a deep strike. It's funny. Yeah. Anyway, Gene Stealer Cults, 2
The
players. Now, these are
tragedy of
obviously
10th
diehard.
keeps going. These guys fell off a cliff. You go back 6
Yeah.
months, you were seeing Gene Stealer Colts everywhere.
Everywhere.
And now 2 players. And I know one of them is a diehard. Who is our other one?
So we've got Taylor Hill, who is the
Taylor Hill.
diehard, I believe. And
Yep.
then you've got John Swain.
John Swain.
Is the other one that is on
Which
Team
I-
Barnyard.
I don't know John, so I won't speak to that, but I do know that Taylor loves his NIDS, loves his GSE, also a Tau player because he's a Giga Chad. So yeah, and yeah, just a real fall from grace. Alex, do you know specifically what it is that has led to that? Because they got some very specific and targeted nerfs. Most
Realistically-
importantly, I think, is the stringing. I think that's what killed them for teams.
I think the reason that they got less play and the reason that people don't play them anymore is because only the true Giga Chads watch the ATWN, and they saw my game versus Taylor, and they're like, "Why would I play that? Alex just beats it." And they're like, "No,
absolutely,
that's it."
absolutely.
And then the pick rate just dropped right from them. You know, that was it. If you
that's
haven't
gonna
seen that
happen.
game, watch it. We got drunk on stream. It was great. I don't know how many drinks I had. Scotty, Ben Tinker was playing it for me the other day, and Arian. It was great. Like, I didn't realize half the things I did. Apologies, but also it seemed really funny. But on a more serious note, yeah, they got absolutely pummeled, and they're very RNG based now. You know, if you don't get your revives off on a statistical amount, you're actually screwed.
Yeah.
If you get any modicum of bad rolls there on that specific part, that's worse than flopping a roll with your unit, because not only have you lost output infinitely for the rest of the game, whereas at least if it was a unit that fluffed their rolls and just survived and took hits, they're at least giving you durability and board presence and objective play. But if you fluff that other roll, there's no re-rolls, there's no nothing, they're gone. So that stringing, you know, I think if you had at least one of them, you get a lot more play. But those are the 2 big things that have definitely impacted them.
Yeah.
But rounding out the last one, why don't you helm this one, Jake? Because I'm speaking way too much. Let's go through the.
Sure, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, sitting at what I believe is our most played faction is Necrons. Sorry, I almost couldn't get through that. Necrons make up 8. 8 teams have Necrons in them. That is half the field. And Scotty, you said that you went through the list. Do you know, is that, I believe it's Canoptic Court is, aside from Hyperphase, is one of the more popular builds for them. Do you know if they've gone for that, or have they gone for the Hyperphase for the uppy, downy, and everything else?
I think from my memory, the majority were the Hypercrypt. I think it might have been a 5-3 split, but that's just off the top of my head.
Okay. So Necron's obviously very, very popular. Our second most popular faction, Orcs, which, funnily enough, singles, we barely saw any Orcs players. It was diehards sitting on them, really. And then now we have a bunch of people going to that. Do you know what it is that's driving people to that in teams, Alex? Obviously, the skew can help with making sure that you get some very favorable rush melee matchups. Is there anything in particular? Have you got any secret Orc tech that you're aware of?
They just have to roll too many dice, so they need the extra time on the clock. No. It's a really good pin. Now, when you start thinking about what the addition has brought, right? Like the new data slate has brought a few things. Now, firstly, there's a potential for Drukhari to have a really good place. I think Drukhari are amazing, even better in teams. I don't know if they're as good in singles because the meta, they're actually great, but they're just not great for the meta. You have Custodes, you have Grey Knights, you have Chaos Knights, you have Chaos Demons, you have Tyranid Monster Mash, you have Necrons, and Necrons being a major one, right, with the Catan and Monolith. All of a sudden, out of them, there's only 2 factions that Orcs doesn't want to play into, and that's the Grey Knights and the Custodes. But they are absolute machines at killing big monsters, right? And if they can get that tailored pick, which teams allows them to have, they have a much better run than what they would in singles. It just works out, great. I know Ben, one of my guys, shout out to him. He even warned his opponent on how much a unit of 20 boys can do to or not boys, beast snaggers can do to Catan. Opponent didn't take the warning. All of a sudden, those 20 Orc boys actually killed 2 Catan in the same turn.
Ooh.
That is huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. Now, Ben, isn't that the rank 1 CSM player?
Number 1 CSM player, New South Wales, 100% lock it in.
Love me some Tinker. Love me some.
He's
Tinker.
also probably going to be the number 1 Tyranids player in New South Wales very soon. He's we're working very closely together. It's looking pretty fun.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all snake. Everyone knows my snakes. I love my snakes, but there's more me than before. The next one is someone that they did get a nerf a bit, namely with.
You get a nerf, and yet seeing some very big representation, even with Custodes in terms of popularity across the team. Leagues of Votann. Now, Leagues cop some very, very targeted nerfs into their Sagittars, into their Hearthguard bricks, into their and my brain is forgetting my little boy's trapped into a little walker. Thunderkin, that's the ones.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see where the LOV players take it, because Leagues of Votann is my sort of secondary army behind Tau, and I'd probably say Grey Knights I've got more reps on. I think that Leagues of Votann, if they get the right matchups, are going to be very, very obnoxious for certain armies to play into. Just because they don't have any tricks, they don't have any uppy downy, they don't have whatever. But what they do have is very, very solid output and very, very good profiles with like the casino cannons. You have something which just D3 extra shots on a very, very good profile. It can be startling how much they will pick up in a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a hot take with them. But
hit it.
Firstly, guys, just to let you know, there was a WCC FAQ that came out last week. So everyone check that, because there's faction-specific ones, and it does matter for everything that we're playing with. But with Leagues of Votann, the main thing I want to note is that Thunderkin probably didn't need the 10-point nerf. And the reason I'm saying that is that most vehicle lists that were overperforming got worse, which I guess means that they're already better. But the things that got better are all the monster spam. The big toughness things that are, monsters and durability, and even like Adeptus Custodes and things like that, which, you can't really dent through. So you got the 10-point nerf, and the meta has shifted where grab isn't as important. Which means then I guess, for the ones that are probably running grab now, you have to skew a bit more. So you have to babysit that faction a bit more. But the benefit is if you do babysit that faction to get it the right matchups, it generally will overperform than some of its other counterparts. So it'll be interesting to see on a team's perspective.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. I'll be looking at them closely.
And why the hell do we have to leave with this one at the last?
I think Scotty was going to say, Scotty, were you chiming in with something just then?
No, I wasn't going to. But to Alex's point, I do them in number of taken order. That is the only reason why it's at the bottom.
There we go.
Well,
we'll go for it,
we're saving the best for last. The true Giga Chads. And I'll point out, Alex, there are exactly 0 AdMac players. Exactly 0.
Yeah, I mean, they're already OP. Why bring them? I think it's the only faction not getting played. That and Inquisition, I guess, which isn't a real army. So, yeah.
Oh, and actually, before my brain forgets it, and I start talking about my baby. One point to have everybody be aware of is that at this tournament, teams were only able to have allies for one of their players from each of the ally factions. So if you had a Chaos Space Marines guy who took Chaos Demons as an ally, no other Chaos factions were able to take Demons as an ally It would not, however, affect demons being taken as a main faction. So I do know that there were some teams that had to very tightly work out, because obviously a lot of Imperium armies love the Calidus assassin, and even some wanting to pair in some armigers and that sort of stuff. They had to work out amongst themselves where the best value was to put those, because if you've only got one person who can take a Calidus, you need to make sure it's an impact pick for that person. Or that the other people that can't take it are running a list which is able to function without that we've seen as a little bit of an auto include for a lot of Imperium factions. I don't know that I've seen a Knights list or like a Custodes list that doesn't include a Calidus in ages.
Or an AdMech list, but that's because you don't see them. So yeah.
The other faction that isn't, well, there's a few that aren't being played, but I gotta pull one out for my boys, the Death Watch.
They don't count. They're Marines too. They don't count. They're just a different shoulder plate.
There's some other flavor of vanilla. It's vanilla light.
It's vanilla with like 10% mint. Not even the best kind of mint.
Just a little swirl through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any others though?
Yeah, who else isn't being played, Scotty? Have you got those numbers?
I think Inari is the only other one.
That doesn't count.
That's just Eldari.
How many are running avatars or things like that? Nah.
We're
just deny us here, but yeah.
Through looking in the list, there was no Incarns.
Oh, that doesn't count. They're probably off the field, ready to drop in later. But yeah, still, that's just like a unit choice makes it Inari, right? So
I believe
basically all it is now. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't call it that. It's like
what
running Gilliman, makes it Super Marines or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually every other faction has been taken.
Except for AdMech. Here we go, boys.
Except for AdMech, yeah.
But onto the True Chosen Sons, the Tau Empire. 3 players going on it, one of my own. Shout out to Liam from the Pantheon team, who has been talking to me quite heavily about his Tau list in the lead up. They are, I think, played well. Tau have some of the best matchups and some of the best play as a sword list. Because they go into something that doesn't deal with somebody doing all of their damage at range, being incredibly fast, being very uninteractive. That can be insane to deal with. So I'll be watching the Tau players and obviously Tau shaming as much as I can across the tournament. But yeah, go my lads.
Now, obviously, as a
just sorry to jump in for a sec, Alex.
No, right.
I believe between the 3 Tau lists, there are 8 Riptides.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're durable and hard to kill. So they can hold things pretty well right now. And they still have a decent profile, right? There's a lot of 3-wound and 4-wound bodies in the game. They actually work out really well for that too.
Yep.
So even if you're not getting like the exact output that you need, because you might be winning on 5s or sometimes 3s because you're not winning on 2s, it's still good. So it's nice. That's coming from me. I'm obviously a premier Tau expert here. We all know
absolutely.
I'm undefeated on Tau. I'd like to point that out there.
Oi, big boy!
But I spam the most OP units in the game. So what do you expect?
So you're just a 40k player? Yeah, cool.
No worries. Pretty much, right? Yeah. 40k player. We generally had ourselves and matches up, right? But yeah, Tau's a melee.
The Riptides, one of the big things is, as you mentioned, the 4 damage, which is a breakpoint that we don't find a lot across the game. The other thing is ignoring any or all hit modifiers. Doesn't matter if you tag them in melee, they got fall back and shoot, or just ignore and stand there. Drukhari, Riptides are actually one of the best things to pop a transport of theirs, because you're hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, and all you need is 2 to go through, which is just incredible. And then something else is able to pick up what gets out. So I think if Tau ever go into a Drukhari player, that Drukhari player is about to have a very, very bad game, unless they are supremely skilled and are able to very well stage and use their mobility and tricks and everything else. But it's definitely not a matchup that if I had a Drukhari player on my team, I'd be wanting to put them into.
Just spam airburst. I dare you.
I actually had somebody ask about this, and funnily enough, Kyle Grundy has been messaging me all day because he just came second at a major putting hammerheads in with SMS, which is functionally the same thing. And apparently in England, there's a lot of people running like MSU Eldari and that sort of stuff. And I think the SMS just basically made him clean up the field. I think he only went down to the guy who came first in the last round. So yeah, SMS might be coming back. I'm sorry in advance, everybody. I didn't start this, but I am going to play that. Yeah.
Somebody's got to be the outbreak monkey, right?
That's it. That's it. Patient zero,
SMS.
Kyle Grundy. Don't blame me.
SMS with 1,400 points accrued. Sounds pretty good to me.
Oh, mate, it's coming. The codex is coming soon. It's going to
No,
happen.
you can do 1,400 now. Let's go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So looking at just below, we got the faction podium, obviously. Necrons at the top. Orcs is our number 2. Custodians, Leagues of Votan, and Tyranids all tied at 6 teams. Scotty, talk us through, because one team has no factions from this podium. Not a single one.
Not a single,
No, just-
not a single faction from any of those 5 factions that are in those top 3 spots.
Yep. And I believe you actually teed them up for us to talk about and have a look at some of their.
We'll
some of
have
their
a look at
stuff.
those in a second. The other 2 stats I'll mention is that 12 teams, so 75% of the field, have taken 2 factions out of the 5 on the podium, and then 3 teams have taken 3 factions from the podium. And we're going to be looking at one team that has taken 2, one team that has taken 3, and the team that has taken none. And
It's Feud's team, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Feud's team.
Because Death Guard. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Fuck me, I
So-
guess. Right. Yeah. I knew it. I had to talk about Feud again.
We'll
kidding.
start
That's
off
fine.
without Feuds. We'll sandwich it a little bit, but before we do, I want to thank everyone that is joining us in chat.
I love sandwiching feud.
Really appreciate.
Sorry, Scotty. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. Go.
You're fine. You're fine. I want to thank everyone for joining us in chat. Really awesome to have you joining us. And if you have come in halfway through, we're going to have this up on YouTube on the ATWN's YouTube channel on Thursday morning before the event, so you can catch up with all the details that we've been talking about as well. In terms of other plugs, if you do want to support us, feel free to follow the channel here, follow us on all of our other socials. If you've got a Amazon Prime for a Twitch Prime sub that you haven't used, feel free to use it here if you want to financially support us as well. And we'll be streaming this event over the weekend, both here on the ATWN Twitch channel and the ATWN YouTube channel as well, which is going to be absolutely awesome. So
Do you know, Scotty, funnily enough, before we move on, when I used my Twitch Prime to sub to you, I noticed that Chell stopped slapping me when I'd walk into the room. It was the craziest thing. Just all good things. So, you know, if you would like your dad to tell you he's proud of you, or for the kids down the street to stop egging your house, maybe use that Twitch Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I rolled a 6 for the first time. It was fucking wild.
Alrighty.
It was an explode. It was a deadly demise, but it's fine.
Yeah. All right. So the first team we are going to be looking at is named Daddy and the Boys. So the captain.
Do you want a background why it's called that?
Sure.
No, maybe I shouldn't say. No, that's fine. So a lot of these guys are young, for lack of a better word. And then there's Josh Hines, who's soon to be 40, and soon to be a dad. So congratulations to Josh.
Hey, congrats, Josh.
Congrats,
So he's
Josh.
daddy, and these are his boys,
Yeah, he is.
the Chadmec guys. So yeah, look at them.
Do you know
all
there's
walking
actually a term for Josh, and it's not daddy, it's a zaddy. That's what the kids are calling it. Like when a dad's like super hot. Like
he's
you
a
just
good-looking dude.
like Pedro Pascal is a zaddy. He's classed as a zaddy. So
Yeah.
I would class Josh as that. Like
He's
I
basically
know
Pedro
in my
Pascal.
heart. Yeah, I know in my heart that I'm straight, but Josh, every now and again I'm like, yeah, I'd do it.
He's also tall. He's got that good hair. He's got that
Yeah.
style,
Yeah.
You know.
Like that calm sort of
He plays
suave to his
Nids.
demeanor. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have Captain Taylor Hill as well, the sexiest man voted twice in a year, 2 years in a row.
Oh yeah.
Under
Yeah.
Chadmec magazine. So yeah, good on
Calendar
him.
when.
We
Calendar
actually
way.
have it. We have awards for that in our team. We're
Oh,
very
let's go.
competitive. Yeah. But yeah, that's the team. It's really cool to see. These guys are, fiends in the community right now, for lack of a better word. They just play a lot of events. But I don't think anyone has ever had a bad experience with these guys. They're just lovely people. So I really want to see them do well, and not just for my selfish reasons. But yeah, who wants to run through what they're playing?
Yeah, I'll take it away. So we've got Taylor Hill, who's the captain. He's on Gene Stealer Colts. He's running 2 Biophagus, Nexus, Patriarch, 2 Primus, Saboteur, 2 units of 10, 1 unit of 5 Acolytes, 2 units of 20, 1 unit of 10 Neophytes, a single Goliath truck, 5 Aberrants, 10 Metamorphs, and 5 Gene Stealers. So a couple of units there that you're not really seeing taken in Gene Stealer Colts as of late, at least from what I've seen in the meta for them.
Yeah, he's got a bit of melee. So the Metamorphs, the Abs, the Gene Stealers, Patriarch, they're pretty interesting choices. I mean, the Patriarch can also sometimes just be a complete detriment, and sometimes you just do investigate signals with. But it's I think it's good. It's a pretty balanced list. It's not designed to be set up in the same way where people are like, well, I just need to push as fast as possible. Because sometimes if you do, then you're in range of all these melee. If you haven't got an adequate way to deal with that melee, or if they're in a really good area where they can stage, then that push tactic that you would normally have to zone out these acolytes and neophytes fails. So I really like the list and how it's designed.
Yeah,
would you say that by taking this, that Taylor is morphing the meta?
Taylor morphing. I like. We're gonna call it Taylor Morpheus is going to be his new name. I don't know if you know
Taylor
this, but a lot of
Morpheus!
a lot of the guys have changed the name. For some reason, you put down Ben Tinker when we all know his name is Chad Chadmek on the thing.
His name's Chad Chadbeck. That's on his birth certificate.
He changed. No, so I got drunk at Uprising, and I changed. My name.
I'm shocked. Did you?
Who would have thought? Yeah, I changed it to Chad Chadmek, which I thought was funny at the time. Adam Napier didn't think it was as funny when he kept trying to change it, and then I don't think it helped when I kept putting my scores as 600 just so we'd have to redo it.
Of course.
But and now Ben Tinker, my son, I'm a proud mama bear. He's taken the mantle of Chad Chadmek Jr. There's another guy I think whose name is Succulent Chinese Middleton, which is great. Like I don't know how we're the number 1 team, but anyway.
I can't believe there is a team of all Middleton brothers. Like, where did they bring up from? Yeah, all of the Middletons.
Well, we have an Olive meme right now, and now Brody Middleton's called Brolive Middleton. There's heaps of stuff. Let's not get into it.
Yeah.
Orcs, Ben Tinker, aka Chad Chadmek. Let's go into it.
So he's got a War Trike, Gazgol, Badrock, Mozrog, Nob on Smasher Swig, Pain Boss, and a Mega Armor War Boss as well. Single unit of 10 Beast Snagger Boys, 3 Trucks, Battle Wagon, 10 Flash Kits, 2 units of 10 Gretchen, unit of 5 and a unit of 2 Mega Knobs, and then 3 Squig Hog Boys. So it deviates a bit from what I've seen in the Orc meta, where you might see a unit of 6 and 3 for the Squig Hogs with 2 knobs. On Smasher Squigs with 1 having Head Whoppers Kill Chopper. But, it's got the Flash Kits in there. That's a pretty staple take in the Battle Wagon, more than likely. The truck's there to get the Gretchen around and the unit of Beast Snaggers too. Mega Knobs potentially also another viable choice for those trucks, or even in the Battle Wagon with Gaz is another option to just get them up the field and to cause mayhem. But yeah, it's got some of the key pieces that Orcs are running at the moment with a couple of flavor points. Yeah,
so it's interesting. The meta has recently and only very recently deviated from Squig Hogs. You either run en masse spam or you run none at all, is basically what you see. So it's very much a coin flip. Ben has opted to have them, mainly because they are still a durable tech piece that the enemy sometimes doesn't want to allocate resources into. But at the same time, they also have that little added benefit of having a little bit of extra anti-monster in the game, and anti-vehicle, which just helps, picks up some of the matchups, because you do have a bit of durability. All while not having it so your whole army is basically that can just get absolutely bombarded into, and you can only really do -1 wound on one unit, most likely, unless you're doing it on mega knobs. So yeah.
Alrighty, then the next list is Michael Guys. He's running an Ultramarines Ironstorm Spearhead, so a little bit of a deviation from what we've seen Ultramarines run as of late, as they've tended to go towards Vanguard, particularly with Uriel Ventress for deep striking Centurions, but after the balanced data slate, that's changed a little bit. So Michael's running a Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, so Lone Op, Infiltrate, Scout Shenanigans, Reactive, move without needing to spend CP on it as well is really strong. Calgar with his Vitrix Honor Guard, 2 Tech Marines, a single Ballistus Dreadnought, a company of heroes, Gladiator Lancer, Gladiator Reaper, 3 Inceptors, 5 Infiltrators, 2 Redemptors, a Repulsor Executioner, and 2 5-man Scout Squads as well. So, yeah, I dare say he's throwing Calgar in with the company of heroes and throwing them up instead of the aggressors. And then a lot of tech pieces to deal with stuff like Knights in the Lancer, the Ballistus, and the Repulsor, but also having the Gladiator Reaper in there to be able to deal with Horde if necessary. The Redemptors in there are, they're good all-round vehicles as well. Inceptors and Scouts to be able to do your mobile scoring, pick up, put down innately on the Scouts, and then the Infiltrators for backfield screening if he wants to, or even screening out midfield if he managed to get Defender, say against someone that's playing with Nurglings.
Yeah, 100%. It's, well, interestingly enough, you can't use the Infiltrator ability during deployment, but you can still screen it out, which the Scouts can do anyway. But Calgar, I actually really like the choice because he didn't go up in points. The aggressors did. Him with company heroes means he's -1 wound. He still gives fallback shoot and charge. He gives advance and charge. But most importantly, he gives you a CP each round.
Yep.
Now, that is huge for an army like this where CP is very, very, very useful. So I think it's going to be good. And it gives a bit of a counter charge and a counter punch. So I like it.
And then speaking of Josh Hines, he is in this team. He's running a Tyranid Invasion fleet. He's got Death Leaper, Hold One Eye, a Neuro Tyrant, tunes to 10 Gargoyles, single Biovore, 3 Neurolictors, a single Pyrovore, 2 Daka Carnifexes. I believe they've got the Death Spitters. 3 Exocrines, and 3 Maliceptors.
Yeah, I wonder where he got this list from. It's such a good list. It's so good. It just actually bodies people. It's funny. I've started hovering between if we do Devourers or Death Spitters. But yeah, Devourers are funny because if you Overwatch with Devourers now with Hold One Eye and then his Brood, you actually get 19.5 wounds on average to a Catan in Overwatch. Which is just really, really, really funny to me. But the Death Spitters are just such a staple. I mean, I ran them at WTC and everyone was like, what the crap? They had no idea how to deal with it or do anything. So it was easily an MVP choice. 3 Exos, 3 Mallies. Absolutely disgusting in combination. Surprisingly, on WTC maps, you actually get really good lanes for strat reserves for Exos. So you can do that really well. Neurolictors, so you can get the +1 a wound, which is great. Gargoyles, because they're scoring beasts. Pyrovore, so Carnifex's Daka gets a lot better. And Neurotyrant for Shadow on the Wall. I think it's just a great balanced list and to do some great work. I've been playing something like this, so it's basically what I ran, except I used the meme Harridan instead of a lot of the good shit.
Yeah. And then we've got Woody Woo to round out the team. He's running Grey Knights. He's got Big Boy Calidor Drago, 2 Terminator Librarians, Grand Master Dreadnought, 5 Terminators, 5 Strikes, 5 Inceptors, 2 units of 5 Paladins, 2 regular Dreadnoughts, and a Calidus Assassin. So a lot of pick up, put down shenanigans the entire turn. As we were saying earlier on, Grey Knights have got a decent buff in the recent data slate, particularly the Dreadnoughts as well. So yeah,
they basically gained +2 AP and got cheaper.
Yep.
Interestingly, the Librarians did go up in points. That was really only the meaningful point up that they got. Actually, it might have been their only point increase. But yeah, the Dreadnoughts being back in the meta is so good for them. Their weapons, ballistic skill changes, all that sort of stuff was really, really good and needed. Oh, sorry, weapon skill with the Dreadnought stuff. Kaldor Drago +3 to charge once per battle out of Deep Strike is insane. Put him with either the Terminators or the Paladins. The 5 Interceptors, interestingly, I've been seeing, like, Greg took a couple of those in his list, I believe, and they haven't been seen before that, but having something that can stay on the board and move like 14 inches or something as their base move is really, really good. Going 20 when they teleportation shunt, because they just auto 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention something else there. So yeah, you can do the auto teleport, give him the strat, move, shoot, move. It does use the strat, which is a bit annoying, but more importantly, you can have him in deep strike. Deep strike 3 inches away, shoot, and then move 6, meaning that you can get onto objectives.
Yep.
Which I think is great. Like, it's so funny. You can flip things with that, and it's still 10 wounds with a 2-up save that the enemy has to deal with. Usually on their back line, where there's not enough output to deal with them.
Yep.
So
Overall,
yeah, I rate them for that reason.
Yeah. Overall, this team is going to be one of the ones I'm going to keep an eye on over the weekend. There's probably 3 or 4
Why aren't you keeping an eye on
teams.
all of them, Scotty? How rude. No, I'm
Well,
kidding.
I more mean like the ones that I'm expecting to do well. This is one of
Yeah,
them.
I know.
So yeah, I think it's really well rounded. It's got 2 codexes, 3 indexes, and it's got 2 out of the 5 factions that were on the podium as well. So yeah, I think, you know, these guys are a team to contend with. Next team we're going to look at is It's Just a Phase Mum. What a team name. What an absolute team.
Of course, we see Fued at the helm.
We go from dads to mums. I love it.
All right, so this is the team that has got none of the factions that were on the faction podium. So first up is the captain, which is Richard Hill, who's running Death Guard. It's a bit of a deviation away from what I've seen Death Guard, actually. And it's probably the newer meta that I've started to see Death Guard be run as. So he's got a lot of Virulence, Mortarion, Tallyman, Typhonus, and 2/2 and 2 Chaos Spawns, so 3 units of those. 10 Cultists, 2 Predator Annihilators with all Las Cannons, 3 Death Shroud, 2 Bloat Drones, 3 PBCs, so indirect out the wazoo, and tunes 3 Nergs.
I'm so surprised there's only 2 units, 3 Nergs, but this is such a feud list that it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. He loves his high toughness spammy Unga, so it's doing what it needs to do.
Yep.
Yeah, he does. And
He
actually,
probably would have. He almost gagged probably playing 10 Cultists, to be honest. So yeah, he just knew it was a good choice.
And actually, one thing I want to point out here, not about the list, but Feud is actually bringing on the other 4 players on the team, relatively new to the circuit and are starting to, get into it and find their feet with teams and singles and everything else. So I actually want to shout out Feud that he is taking on a bit of a coaching role with bringing some new blood into the scene, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
I
I agree.
Right.
Next up, you've got Daniel. Alex, you pronounced his last name earlier. I cannot remember for the life of me how you pronounce his last name.
Zeri.
Zeri. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Daniel Zeri, who is running Grey Knights. Again, Drago's there. Single librarian, though, with a Tech Marine. Unit of 10, Unit of 5 Terminators, 2 units of 5 Strikes, 2 units of 5 Interceptors. I put it as Inceptors because I'm so used to writing Inceptors for Marines.
It's fine. Yeah.
And then 3 Dreadknights. So no Grandmaster in Dreadknight, just 3 standard Dreadknights.
Yeah, their ability is so good. Like, I really like Grandmasters as well because they can their consistency once they actually do get into combat is really good. But the Dreadknights themselves, having in their detachment right now where you auto 6 advance and you move 8 and you fly when you do it, means that you're moving 14 and you can advance and charge. So the Dreadknights just work out better typically.
Well, advance and shoot and charge and fall back, shoot and charge, which is how do you lock that down ever? You need to kill it, and if you don't, it's yeah.
And lucky there's only 3 tower because Dreadknights hate tower.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Though Leagues of
but
Votann will still have a lot of play into this. I think that
Yeah.
I think
Grey Knights will pick up their wins against Votann if the player is very good with the movement phase specifically. Whereas if they miss position or the Votann player stays out of range of Mr. Deimos, and because they don't just reactive move, they can also pull to strat reserve, to deep strike. But if you've got a Votann player that plays around that quite well, plays the angles, gives the Grey Knights player some bad matchups, as you were talking about the Thunderkin, Alex, they will just delete a Dread Knight without even breaking a sweat.
yeah.
Hmm. Next up, we've got Michael Higgs, who is running Ash Militarum. He's got a Commissar, Gaunt's Ghosts, Leontis, Tempestus Command Squad, as well as a Platoon Command Squad, Tank Commander, Straken, 2 Chimera, 2 Basilisk, tunes the 3 Bulgrin, 10 Kaskin, 3 Medusa Field Batteries, Regimental Attaches, 2 individual Scout Sentinels, and 10 Scions. Actually, no, it's just 2 Scout Sentinels in a single unit and 10 Scions there as well.
Giga Chad.
Yeah. There's one other Ash Militarum list that has also taken field batteries instead of the vehicle version of that gun, which is insane. Bit of Forge World tech. Yeah. Bit of Forge World tech.
Running their indirect.
Yeah. But yeah, this 5 indirect guns coming out of this is absolutely nuts. Also, Glaves, thank you for the correct. I believe that is Daniel, and he's saying it's pronounced Sherry. Is how he's saying.
No, it's not. He's wrong. He's wrong.
Anywho, but yeah, there's it's got the 10 actually be a 15-man brick of Scions, because the command squad might go in with the Scions, or it can be a 5 and 10, keep the command squad separate. The platoon command squad now being able to give out orders outside from inside the Chimeras is really important. With that, it means that no longer is the command squad going to be separate, that you're going to need to stay within ranges. Like, no, you can actually have the command squad being mobile to do some work there. Gaunt's Ghost is a pretty staple take in Ash Militarum now, which is actually great to see. I love those models.
Now that they don't give out 50 points in 2008, yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah. But yeah, it's it's mobile, a lot more mobile than it used to be before the Balanced Data Slate, but it's the indirect army basically.
Well, I think something to talk about on this won't just be the indirect, because we all know how that can go, but the Kazakin is something that I've been seeing pop up a lot more, and listening to the Art of War podcast. They were actually talking with one of England's best Astra Militarum players, and the Kazakin have so much stuff that you can do with them, so much stuff, and then you kill them. Cool, they're in strat reserve again, and then they walk on and they do the exact same thing over and over and over again. So I think that seeing Astra Militarum do well with the 4 players that took AM, if they're running Kazakin, I'll be looking closely at how they play this particular unit to get the most value out of it. And on a side note, a personal note, running Iron Hand Straken, that was one of the few models that I actually owned and was allowed to own as a kid. So automatically, this player's won.
There you go, guys. Don't show up. You got it.
All right. Next up, we've got Peter Ray, who is running a Dark Angels Ironstorm. This was the player that had his list as CSM.
Good man.
Azrael, 2 Tech Marines, 2 units of 3 Inceptors, 3 units of 5 Infiltrators, a single Dark Shroud, double Redemptors, Repulsor Executioner, Storm Speeder Thunderstrike, and a Storm Raven.
This is a temporary list, but I love it. You won't be able to do this in a few weeks, but while you can, go nuts. It's pretty cool. Dark Shroud getting removed. Storm Raven thing is really funny because they can actually hold a Redemptor. So it's a transport aircraft.
Yeah,
they can fly and then drop a Redemptor on the field. It's a really good mobility.
Hilarious.
And then it can still obviously move and then charge. So it's it's really cool. I like it. This list is actually getting a lot of popularity online, but the only reason you're not seeing it everywhere is because it is a temporary list. It's not going to be
right.
around too long.
No, nobody's going to invest into it to meta chase or anything.
No, it's just memes. It's so good. It's strong memes, which is the best kind of memes.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, I love it.
Yep. Definitely agree. It's going to be one that's going to be interesting to see how they alter it a little bit when the codex comes out. Obviously, Alex saying Dark Shroud's going to be gone. We'll change some things there as well. So, you know, I was watching War Games Live, and the player who won Clutch City was running 2 Storm Ravens. So that was...
I think I saw his game against Custodes.
Yep, I watched it. It was Bloodbath. It was a bloodbath against the Custodes, which is insane. Anyway, moving on. Next up, and the final player for the team is Todd Spencer, who is running Imperial Knights. He has got a Knight Warden, 6 Helverins, 3 Warglaves, a Calidus, an Eversaw, and 4 Voidsmen at Arms. So some action monkeys, some assassins in there that are able to do some shenanigans, Caladius for the uppy downy, and then, you know, 9 armigers and a single big knight. It's going to be a lot to deal with.
Yeah. The Eversaw's got a pretty substantial mobility amount that he does turn 1 because of Scout. So it's pretty interesting. But I think the Voidsman, there you go, in the chat, Voidsman is 5-man squad starting.
Yeah.
Is that Voidsman or Inquisitorial Henchman is the question.
Voidsman.
It is Voids.
Yeah, I think on Battlescribe they had it listed out weirdly, and they only had the 4.
I'm only allowed to bring 4 guys. Sorry, TO's here. Not letting you. That's it. Feud, get your boy. If we see it on the table, he's gone. No, just PM us if there's an issue. We'll sort that out. That's fine.
Yeah.
No, I've actually been. Todd spoke to me because he's got a proxy for the Voidsman. There's a I don't know if it's a third-party mini or something like that, but he was showing me the basing and everything else just to make sure it was okay. He's definitely got 5 of them. He's definitely got 5.
All right.
Yeah,
so it's just a Battlescribe error.
Yep.
Classic. But yeah, no, it's, you know, as we were saying earlier, Feud taking on a bit more of a coaching role with this team, and you know, it's great to see an army that's not just gone, oh yeah, I'm going to take Custodes, or I'm going to take Necrons, or I'm going to take Orcs. Which is, you know,
what I still like? It's actually all of these lists can still score relatively well though. Like they're pretty defensive, so
Yeah,
I kind of like it. I like it. Like you don't need to be. This is what I love about teams. You don't need to just have the best armies. If we only wanted the best armies, we would all be playing Admech. So yeah.
Fuck off.
Language.
Sorry.
Hey, it's not within the first 5 minutes on YouTube. We're going to be fine.
Excellent.
Anyway, and the last team we're going to look at for the last one is probably one of, I would say I'd put this team in the top 2, is Pinky and the Brain. And one player on here explains why. So we've got the captain, which
Michael
is
House. That's why.
We've got Greg McGinnity running Grey Knights. Again, 3 Grey Knight lists, funnily enough, in the 3 teams we've looked at. I didn't even realize until I was like, hang on. So he's running a Brother Captain, 3 Librarians, 3 10 Terminators, 5 Strikes, 2 units of 5 Interceptors, 3 Dread Knights, and 5 Purgators.
Interesting question for you, Scotty. Do you know what the Purgators are equipped with off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, I'm afraid.
Because I'll look that up on the side while we're chatting, because the Purgators have they have
Flamers, actually, I reckon.
Well, I was going to say, if it's Flamers, that is some nasty tech, because they have a data sheet ability called Astral Aim. And Astral Aim allows you to basically indirect if any other Grey Knights unit can see the people that you want to shoot at. So you can really safely drop these guys in on the other side of a wall and then just go, get off my table. Because, of course, the Grey Knights have a Strength 6, AP 1, Damage 1 Flamer, because fuck Tau, I guess.
Yeah.
Tau's already OP because of Crit, so it's fine.
That's true.
Then they want to hit with Crit, you know, helps against the Flamer Perks.
Absolutely.
So Glaves is saying in chat that it is the 4 Flamers.
It is,
There
yeah.
you go.
And for everybody, from what we were talking about before, Greg is the player that won the Dice Arcade GT.
Mm.
Just this
Can I just say,
weekend
he
before
is an
last.
Eldar player. Of course, he runs indirect
True.
flamers.
Do you know the name
Like,
of his list?
Yeah, of course he puts
Imperial
indirect
Elves.
flamers.
Imperial Elves. Yeah.
100%. Uppy downy, 3-inch deep strike, reactive moves.
Indirect
guy.
with flamers. Yeah, no. Okay. I'm seeing some stuff. I'm going to be walking past this table. There's shenanigans going on here.
Then, probably the reason why the team has got the brain in it is Chris Wright is on this team. He's running the Drukhari Sky Splinter Assault. And the thing that I was going to mention during the faction breakdown but didn't is that every single Drukhari player is taking Sky Splinter.
Yeah, cool.
Doesn't
It's
surprise
new
me.
hotness. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So Chris's build is 2 Archons, Lilith, 2 Succubus, 2 units of 10 Cowbelites, 2 units of 10 Witches, 2 Raiders, 5 Venoms, single Kronos, a unit of 10 and 2 units of 5 Incubi, 5 Mandrakes, and 3 units of 5 Scourges.
And I bet you those Scourges are equipped with Dark Lances. Which means they're going to be anti-tank. All they do is they come out, shoot, and then go back behind the wall because they're infantry and they fly. They do the old Tau thing. How's that make you feel, Jay?
It makes me feel
Phantasm
very
thing.
bad because they just naturally hit on 3s because, of course they do. Yeah, so each of the Scourges is rocking a Dark Lance aside from, it looks like the leader, I don't think can take that.
He can't take it, correct.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I actually played into a very good friend of mine, Dan, and this list has a lot of play. This looks very, very similar to what he was running. Some very nice tech pieces. Obviously, the 5 Venoms that he's running. If you don't ignore hit modifiers, they're not super high toughness. They're not super large amount of wounds, but -1 to hit is surprisingly impactful into these things because if you under allocate and things don't go your way, not having everything pile out of there is very dangerous for you. Then all of the new Dark Eldar tech where you've got the Nightmare Shroud, I believe is the one where when you get out of a transport until the end of the I think it's the end of the turn, you cannot be overwatched, which means that if you put these guys into a very heavily shooting army that doesn't have the tools that normally deal with Drukhari quite well, they are going to have a horrible time because that just means you've got a go turn and you just press a button and off you go, as well as having a reactive move on their transports. It is very, very powerful in a skilled player's hands. And I don't think you could have put this into a better player's hands.
No, you couldn't have.
Yeah.
Love the name of the list. Bitches be slaying. Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the next list is Michael House, who's running Thousand Suns. He's got Ahriman, an Exalted Sorcerer on disc, Infernal Master, Magnus, the Sorcerer, Terminator Sorcerer, a unit of 10 tunes of 5 rubrics. They've got the Soul Reaper cannons and the Flamers, single Mutalith, single unit of 5 Scarab Occult, 2 Chaos Spawn, and tunes to 3 Zangor and Lion.
I played against this on the weekend. Michael came over and we had a amazing few games. It's such a good list. He plays it really well, and props to him because this is the faction that he doesn't normally play. He decided to just jump in and have some fun. And yeah, I think he has definitely the tools to go really far with this list. I think he knows how to defend, correctly with it. He knows how to push. It's scary. And Magnus right now, a lot of the things that could kill Magnus just got nerfed. He's harder to kill, that's for sure.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got Tim Sunderland, who is running Orcs. He's running Gazgol, Badruck, 2 Pain Bosses, 2 War Bosses, 2 units to 10 Beast Snaggers, a Truck, 2 Battle Wagons, a Boomdacker Snaz Wagon, 10 Flash Gits, 2 units to 10 Gretchen, 2 Mega Knobs, and 2 units to 5 Knobs. So I dare say we're looking at the War Bosses and Pain Bosses going in the Knobs, Gazgol going in with the Mega Knobs, more than likely going
the Pain Bosses have to go, they can't go with the Knobs, I believe.
Okay. So they're not like Apothecaries where you can have both join. Interesting. Okay, that's good to know. They could go with the Beast Snaggers then.
They do, yeah. So you get 5 up, feel no pain. on them, which is really nice.
Oh yeah, that makes them hard to shift. Obviously, Bad Ruck with flash kits, probably in the truck would be my guess. And then Gazgol and Meganobs in the battle wagon, in one of the battle wagons. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he puts in the other battle wagon. Maybe the flash kits go in there instead, or
I think what he's going to do is he's probably going to have 2 lots of 10 snaggers in one battle wagon because he can hold 20. Probably puts Gaz in the other battle wagon, and then in the truck will be the flash kits.
Yeah, I mean, we had Tim.
Or actually, Gaz could actually be on the field. Gaz will probably be on the field, sorry. 2 lots of 5 knobs will be also in one of the transports.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, that's another option there too.
Yeah, that'll 100% be it. And the 2 mega knobs will join Gaz.
Yep, just as some ablative wounds.
Yep, and they can still at least like technically stage a bit further. So Gaz is a bit tall, and he's a bit too tall for Ruin. So you keep him behind the Ruin, but you have the mega knobs in front against the wall, which means that you have like an extra 3 inches or 4 inches less that you have to get to for your charge next turn. Pop in the +2 to advance, +2 to charge at the start of the command phase when you call the war. Move through and get some value.
Yep, really good combo there. Yeah, for sure. And then Will Wyckoff rounds out the team. He's running his Leagues of Votan, which has been running for the past like 6 to 9 months now. He's got 2 Iron Here champs, Carl, 10 Hearthkin, 4 Sagittars, and these guys are the ones with the missile launchers. 3 units of 5 Saturnian Berserks, a unit of 10 and 2 units of 5 Hearthguard, and then 3 units of 3 Pioneers.
Basically, what's changed in this is that you remove the Thunderkin, and you just don't go for that skew and hopefully that you get the right matchups, whereas this goes with a lot more balanced approach because the Pioneers can also uppy downy and then come in from strat reserves and do things like that. The Berserks are actually really good right now because they're indirect while also doing movement denial is very handy, and having 3 units of 5 is really good for that. Having free fight on death is also really good into some matchups. I like the list. I think it's really balanced.
Yeah, it's
Jay, you would probably know more than me.
The Hearthguard are just so good.
Yeah,
and you can guarantee, because like with the 3 units of Berserks, they're going into the Sagittars, and then he will put 5 of the Hearthkin and split that unit, so you've got a little bit more MSU rather than having like a big block. I'd imagine the 2 Iron Here champs definitely go with the Hearthguard. I can't remember. I think the Carl can go with either the Hearthguard or the Hearthkin, but I'd have to look that up. But having said that, it's not too much of a big deal. A lot of the other tech is in the Pioneers, giving you a little bit of that movement shenanigans, and Sagittars are just, even after the nerfs, them and the Hearthguard are like the best data sheets.
Everyone knows they're well costed now. They're still well costed.
Yeah, they were steel before, and now they're just good, which, you know, 100%. Is something more than a lot of factions can say for some of their data sheets. So yeah, and then having said all of that as a package, this being played by Will, he's not new to the faction. He will know basically everything he needs to do and use his stuff like, you know, shoot back and all that sort of thing very, very well.
Yeah.
If you want to beat him, guys, he's got a carpal tunnel. Just squeeze his hand really hard when you shake it, and he's done.
Oof.
Helping out my fellow teammate. Yeah.
I think the other thing to bear in mind with this list is that with the 2 units of 5 Hearthguard, Will could potentially put them into Deep Strike and use them as engagement pieces where he needs them, or scoring pieces if he has to, right? Is another way that he could play them.
Yeah. It's the very typical way, and the only advice I can give, and I know Will is across this, but to any Votan players, don't do it always. Some people just do it out of default, and they just think that's all you can do, like, because it's just like intrinsical in their head, like they're just like hardwired to just do it. That's it. I have to do it. And then all of a sudden you verse people like Brody Milton in Gladiator Gaming, who went against 3 Votan players every single time they did it, and then none of their Hearthguard ever made it on the field. And that was with Vanguard Marines, not even like his swarm list. So
yeah, wow.
I've done it as well to a few people. Apologies in advance. I did that with my NIDs. So just be mindful of what the enemy can do, and sometimes listen to them if they say, "Are you sure?" when you want to put in reserves. Yeah. It's a lot of points to lose that unit. That's so important for the Votan matchup as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that rounds us out in terms of looking at the teams. Now, normally we would have covered off on this a bit earlier, but we did skip over. Jay, for the final thing before we get to wrapping up and shout outs, do you want to run through what prizes the guys for the weekend are playing for in terms of what names of prizes, not necessarily what you've allocated to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So Chell and I were doing a little bit of that today because we unfortunately had a little bit of problems with getting stuff shipped out and all collated in one place. And like a lot of people, I think, can sort of, why is my brain forgetting words? Can sort of feel the feelings of, needing to visualize things in order to, properly know where things are going and whatever else. But we have obviously our top three, where they will be getting $200 per player for a first place, and then my brain doesn't want to do the maths, but $750 for the second place team, $500 for the third place team. And then we've also got the player's player, which is the Sisters Army. It is something that, I am not just somebody who will say pretty words about wanting sportsmanship to be a core part of the tournament circuit that I love. I am putting money where my mouth is and making something there. On that note as well, there are a bunch of, I did this at GT and I'll be doing it for this one as well, these Valkyrie Awards where, because I have my wife help me out at every single one of my events, she's incredible and I wouldn't be able to do it without her. Just for people that have interactions with her, or she observes people's interactions being very, very friendly and sportsmanlike and, holding to all of the values that we want people to be playing with, there are awards that she will just designate. Yep, cool, bang, you walk away with, might be dice trays, it might be sets of dice. My brain is forgetting other stuff that we've got. We've also got some of the some of the boxes that you can see behind me. We're doing those as welcome to the circuit prizes. So we want to hear from people that are playing in their first couple of tournaments, or this is their first tournament. And this will be a nice little, new players I don't feel ever will feel like, oh, I'm going to go to my first GT or my first teams tournament and I'm going to take first or whatever else. But this is a, give everything you're all, invest in the tournament. And obviously, it needs to be said that, prize support doesn't go to people who don't make it day two. Obviously, there's, people can drop for a lot of different reasons, but I noticed when I was first getting into the tournament circuit, and I don't know if you guys had the same sort of thing, where there was this behavior of players of like, oh, I can't podium, so I'm just going to drop day two and I'm not going to show up. And that was weird for me as, somebody who's always played competitive sports and was military and all that sort of stuff, that like, I don't have quitting in me. And, if I've paid for an event, I want to be able to play out 5 rounds. And so people, I want to encourage people that, if it's like medical or you got a family thing going on or whatever else, like nobody should ever feel bad about having to put their life first. But if it's just down to your tournament didn't go the way that you thought, building a culture of still playing out those rounds and doing it for your team, and or even in a singles event, being there all the way to the end because I didn't hear no goddamn bell. That is something that I would actually like to promote. And so, somebody comes to a tournament, it's their first tournament, and they might get bodied because they unfortunately get paired into Brody Middleton or Alex or something, round 1 and 2 and whatever. I still want them to walk away from the tournament knowing that there is something to be gained by sticking it out and giving it your all and all that sort of stuff. So we've got that. We also have terrain sets. We've got 5 from Daniel Zeri, and we've got 5 from Spear Tip, which we are going to be, I forget the allocation for that. I apologize. I'll be having a post go out on Facebook about this, but we'll be looking at getting that into the hands of as many players as possible, because obviously 2 different products and choice as a consumer is really, really important. And so getting this into people's hands and being able to see these incredible terrain sets that people are making and starting their own business within New South Wales is really exciting. We want both of those to do very, very well. So and then we've got a bunch of extra lucky door stuff. And then we start to get into, after all of that, Art of War giving us entry for people into their awesome community, list building services, coaching services. And we're going to, as much as we can, because we do try and randomize as much as possible, but we also do try and make the prizes like that should go to players that are looking to up their game and get the most value out of it. There's probably not a lot, like, if Alex wins an Art of War coaching session, I don't know that is really high value. So yeah, trying to make sure that all of our prize support not only is given out fairly and with a sort of even distribution, but also making sure that the right prize support goes to the right places, and that there's nothing wasted when somebody walks away from a tournament. I don't want someone to walk away from the team's event and be like, oh, cool, I've got this thing that I'm just going to sell online because whatever. And obviously you can't control everything for that, but yeah. Hopefully we hit that mark.
Yeah, for sure, which is awesome. I definitely agree about the culture of players dropping. I've seen that happen. I more look at it through the lens of value for money. Like you pay an entry fee, like you want to go to an event and play your games to get your value for money out of being at the event. At least that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, and it's also from a holistic perspective. It's not about that player that drops as well. It's about the fact that somebody, especially when it's imbalanced and odd numbers that are left at the tournament, there's somebody who paid good money to be there who now has a buy and walks around for 3 hours just looking at people's armies and trying to fill the time as best they can. And if that's avoidable by something as simple as a culture shift, I think that's something that we should, try and make a part of our core ethos.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I reckon that about wraps us up for the tournament preview. I want to thank both of you guys for your time. And if either one of you got final shout outs, now's the time.
Alex, I took the first round, so if you want to take the first round on the outro.
Well, we kind of already gave our shout out, so that's pretty easy. I'm just going to end it with shout out to all the Yumchas on each person's team. You guys are doing wonders.
Love it.
My God. Well, I obviously the sponsors are such a big deal, so I will list them off again. Art of War, Irresistible Force, Spear Tip, Daniel Sherry, and Jacob for the sisters that he has kindly donated to the event. Any of the other unsung heroes that will help out with setting up terrain and organizing things and organizing these events as smooth as possible. And the last thing, and Alex said this, but I want to echo it, the players that have bought into our dream, because it's one thing to have a dream and think about it and talk about it and everything else, but it's another thing entirely to have other people join you in that. And I am just very grateful, very humbled, and very, very proud that there are so many people that are joining me on this this hunt to remove cheating and bullying and all of these bad behaviors that nobody should have to tolerate, and make our scene the absolute best that it can be.
100%.
I did forget one other thing. I'll shout out one of our sponsors for Chadmec. Good old Imperial Peking. We'll be there this Saturday, having some dumplings and a succulent Chinese meal. If anyone wants to
that's gonna be so
let
good.
us know. It's gonna be great.
It'll be
But
solid.
they are legitimately on the back of our new jerseys coming. So
Let's go.
Yeah. Get your dumpling on, boys. Let's do it.
Oh, sorry, Scotty. One thing on the outro that I do want to talk about a little bit. We will have, for the event, we will be running a raffle just to basically, as I've taken out a substantial loan to buy my terrain and run all this sort of stuff, it will be in the spirit of trying to get that paid off as soon as I can, which will lower cost of entry for everybody for future events. And we are doing some like stacked prizes to be able to achieve that effect, including the first prize, including but not all of it, a free ticket to a PSA event, which is my organization, Pantheon Studios, for the future. Obviously, that won't be like a full team ticket for the next team's event. It'll be like one player, but yeah. So hopefully you guys are excited for that. I'll have pre-sale of tickets going up for that in the lead up to the event and during. It'll be $5 a ticket, and then I'll leave it open for my international viewers and fans and everything. It'll go to $10 a ticket for that week, and then on a live stream we'll draw it out. Me and Chelsea, we had a lot of fun doing that last time. We will also have at the event made to order merch items, which we have invested in Chelsea doing all of our own stuff. The shirt I'm wearing at the moment was done by her, and she's doing it for the team. So very excited to show off all of that sort of stuff, and very excited to get that into people's hands. So
Yeah, awesome.
yeah, hopefully you're all keen for the event. I know that I am. And yeah, thank you for having us on, Scotty. Don't forget, everybody, if you have a Twitch Prime just sitting there sad and alone, make sure that you use it. Keeping eyes on the Australian tournament circuit is not easy. It is not cheap, and nobody does it better than Scotty. So hit that button.
Yeah. Thanks, Jay. You know, Andy B in chat has used his Prime sub, which is awesome. So yeah, anyone else who's able to do
huge.
so is always greatly appreciated. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking
Total
time.
Goku energy.
Thank you for taking time out of your week to come and chat with, you know, myself about the tournament and you know, look at the meta and all that fun stuff. Without the TO's willingness to jump in and do that, you know, we wouldn't be able to create this style of content, which is absolutely awesome. I want to thank everyone who has joined us in chat. Hope you have enjoyed the tournament preview for the Sydney 40k Teams Open. We will be once again streaming it live here on the ATWN on both our Twitch channel and our YouTube channel as well. Multi-stream on both platforms for the first time, which is exciting for a tournament coverage. And so, yeah, you'll be able to catch us over the weekend as well. But ladies and gentlemen, from us here at the ATWN, Pantheon Studios Australia, and Glaves.
Another sub. Look at that. I reckon, hey guys, will someone sub if we get Scotty to drop an F-bomb? Because me and Jay have already done it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, gosh.
I know that I have
yeah.
some of the Pantheon crowd that are sitting in chat as lurkers. Let's go it. Somebody drop a sub so we can get Scotty to drop an F-bomb. Because I don't know if I've ever heard you swear. I don't know if I have ever heard you swear.
I didn't swear.
I rarely swear. I rarely swear. But yeah, anyways, we do have to wrap it up.
Oh, no. My man, let's go!
First of all, Bellino, Feud, and Detriment gifting a sub as well to Cal Qatar. You guys, thank you so much for the subs. Really appreciate. For fuck's sake.
Yes. Oh, worth it. This is why you have me on stream. Yeah, I don't know what you expect at this point. Fuck.
But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. If you're not at the event, we hope to catch you in chat for the stream over the course of the weekend. It's going to be an absolutely phenomenal week. And if you are at the event, we're going to be heading to Chinese afterwards on the Saturday night. It's going to be a great time. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone. That's going to be it from us here. Hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. We'll catch you throughout the rest of the week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Love you, chatters.